Welcome back to Late Night at the Barcade. I've already said this intro twice, I think now. We're back. It's another episode, another great little podcast episode. And by the title, I'm sure this is going to be a fun one. I'm joined, as always, by my editors, who will be editing, and a special guest, Pseudo. What's going on, man? How are you?
I had a pretty good day today.
You had a pretty good day?
I did. And this
Oh
is
shit, I got
hopefully gonna
sauce
make
on
it
my...
even better.
Hopefully. I just got sauce all over my stomach. This is great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, man. I'm a fucking filthy chud loser who covers himself in sauce.
You're a fucking mess.
I'm a fucking mess. Welcome to Late Night at the Barcade, the only show where the host gets fucking shit covering them like a goddamn pig. We are talking parasocial relationships today. I know Pseudo here has his own topic points. I have my topic points. We're going to talk about some individuals within the online space and their problematic social relationships. We're going to talk about where this thing comes from. You know, what the hell a hecking is parasocial relationships. What that means and how to stop it from happening, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how far it gets. And this time we've actually got some people sending in letters for this week, and we're going to go over that because we have to.
Wow.
Does it have anything to do with what's currently going on? No. Will it derail what's going on? Yeah. No, dude. Because you guys are uninteresting. No. You guys make me sick, and I don't want any of you to send me messages anymore. But yeah, let's just get...
from a fan?
It's from a fan. It's from a fan. It's from Peter.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Peter later. Mr. Peter. Peter. Yeah. Anyway. Let's not do this. We have a professional podcast to do. All right. We're not going to make Family Guy.
You?
Cut this entire bit out. Cut this entire bit out, Lily. This sucks.
I don't even watch Family Guy.
Don't make a joke about Family Guy. What is this show?
His name was Peter.
His name was Peter Griffin. And his wife was Lois Griffin.
No, I'm talking about the...
Who is you talking?
Letter Peter.
Oh, the guy who sends the letter Peter. Jesus Christ.
Open the letter.
We have a professional... We're not doing the letter right now. We have a professional fucking podcast. We've got to get into this topic point. People are clicking off, Pseudo. People are clicking off. Anyway, We're talking about parasocial relationships. So, one of the biggest... I wouldn't say biggest things, but one of the adverse effects of being online and being a creator and those who create and those who consume, look at how smart I sound, right? Is the consumer pipeline tends to branch off to a degree that creates parasocial relationships. For those who do not know what it means, what are parasocial relationships? I'm glad you asked, Pseudo. Parasocial relationships are essentially, one-sided, fictitious relationships built by fans, by individuals, by creators to other creators. It's this feeling and relationship that tends to form on a one-sided nature, right? It's a big difference from fans and the parasocial relationships. You can be a fan of something, but the parasocial relationships are more of a mental ordeal.
You feel like you've fully developed a relationship with a celebrity or internet icon of some kind that is somehow deeply meaning to that person, but again, stressing the one-sided nature of it to like, the term is a misnomer because it's not actually a relationship.
No. I mean,
it's in relation to the person who has the parasocial nature.
Yeah. there's never really a relationship to begin with. But I think, and this is what we're going to be discussing, there are times where there are relationships between creators, and we'll get into that, right?
Hell
This show is nothing if not um great at segues and branching things together. But essentially that is what parasocial relationships are. And parasocial relationships have been around since time in memoriam, right? But
Long time.
very recently, there's been a greater trend as the internet has developed. Creators are trying to foster communities and are marketing themselves in a way that is easily consumed, easily, shown at your door and delivered to you. These relationships are forming a lot more, and they're starting to become a bit of a problem, or have been a bit of a problem for the last 5 or so years. I think
stressing a bit.
yeah,
Stressing a bit.
we'll talk about some of these individuals. But yeah, these relationships are formed from this. Often these relationships are formed through when the barrier between content creator and consumer is a lot more thin. So you'll find typically it's like if the fan has ever met a content creator, if the content creator, and content creator we're using as a very broad term, you can talk, anyone in this content creator thing. Someone who makes something that is being consumed, someone who's making media that is being consumed by someone, is what I'm branching out.
A pretty big one I think we'll end up talking about is like parasocial relationships before like streaming became big and YouTubers became big. Back in the day, parasocial relationships, the most they were talked about on like literally like radio, right? In the 70s and 80s and even before then and stuff like that, was between like music goers and their bands and stuff like that. So rock stars or
Beatles,
musicians of any
Michael
kind
Jackson,
would have to
those
deal
people.
with this. Because it was like not so much like, sure, meeting somebody at a fan convention, but literally going to a concert and seeing that person on stage, right?
God.
And
you know what that has reminded me of? And I know that we're not going to get into this right now. We have segues to get. But that reminds me of, I need to put this in my notes, but John Lennon is a very good example. And his passing of a parasocial relationship, you may not know everything about it. But the guy who committed the deed built this whole idea of a parasocial relationship. And we'll get into it. And it's very important to know. Because, it's a very good example of this before Twitchers and YouTuber thing. But yeah, this thing's been around for a long time, and they're formed from, relationships that people, from this thin barrier that is getting thinner and thinner as, some people placate into it. We'll be discussing BTS and their community. We're not gonna throw fucking shade at them. I know how toxic these people are. Using it as an example. Nothing negative. Please don't kill us. Nothing negative. All right. All good. And it's this thin line that is just being built up and is getting to a point, specifically when you bring in children, where we're finding problems. So we'll talk about a big one. I don't know, Mr. Pseudo, if you are aware of what is known as Dream SMP.
I am pretty blank on it. I saw when, being on YouTube forever, right? You see the up and social media in general. You see the up and downs of like when a big creator does something pretty massive, like it gets around in the space and stuff like that, and it's the height of a fad, right? Not saying Minecraft has dropped in popularity in any capacity, but there was definitely I definitely looked up what does SMP mean at one point a few years ago, because I was like, what this is, I just keep hearing about this stuff, right? So I'm generally aware of like the term and kind of what it means, but like I think bare bones, it's like Minecraft role play server, as far as I'm aware.
Essentially, yeah, yeah. I mean, the very specific thing about Dream SMP, which made it really popular, was the IPs associated to it, right? They had
Right.
Dream, this guy who shows his face and he's just a handsome dude, but his neck's weird, and people
I've listened to the
fucking
song.
yeah, what's the point of the mask is, yeah.
The
That fucking
mask.
dumb shit. Again, we'll talk into it, but this whole their content was, very, very catered towards kids and marketed in a way that was like, hey, we're doing songs now. We're doing we've got marketing going on. We've got, fake relationships built up, right? Because Dream SMP was at a degree, right? A business of sorts, right? There
Oh
was a guy
yeah.
in charge, and the
With
whole
that many people
idea.
involved?
Yeah, definitely, dude. There were
Yeah.
people fucking X, Y, and Z doing things, and I know Dream himself talked about how there was a marketing department and people doing merch and people moderators looking after Discord calls and whatever, not Discord calls, like communities and all of that. It was
Yeah.
very much a business, and because of that, it created a situation where everything was highly fought over and highly improvised, then fought over and analyzed and made even bigger than it would have ordinarily been. Because of that, you had this really giant fucking platform being formed in this Dream SMP with really large creators becoming a part of it, right? Because creators could make amazing content that didn't feel forced because of the way it had been done. It was a very big role play improv. People are doing wikis, people are making fan stuff, people are shipping together. A community was being formed out of, internet personas, right? But the adverse effect of that was it was being formed is exactly the point of it was the internet personas, right?
Hmm.
That was all that was being shown. I mean, a lot of people didn't have internet personas and they did come out of it being, better off or worse off, right? But a lot of people came into it with the idea of I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. This is how I'm going to perform. This is how I'm going to behave, and this is how people are going to react to it, right?
Well,
Um,
that's how the social, like, that's like how we have socially accepted the internet, right?
mhm,
When the internet is like ultimately a quick tangent, alien concept, right? Like when you
mm,
leave it as is, right? When we were making it, it was, it's technically a computer is a math algorithm, right? And the web is just one big math algorithm.
mhm,
But one of the things that started out was just a lot of people decided to use the internet to hide their identities, right? To kind of not be themselves.
mm,
And I think that has like slowly trickled into what it is now today, where it's like when people talk about it's like, oh, how people are on social media is not how they are in real life. It's like that's very true because that is, and it's not everywhere, right? Some people
mm,
are real on the internet, but for the most part, that is what our social social media has been built into. And um I think like that kind of goes into the whole creating a persona thing,
yeah,
especially so it's like a combo of social media and the internet, right? Even like historically when it was first starting out. Um, and then also the combination of like wanting celebrity status,
mhm,
right? But not like nowadays we call it the 5 seconds of fame, right? But people think to it's just society has now led up to this point, and our human interactions with the internet has led to this like being kind of, yeah, an anonymous
yeah, and
kind
it
of
doesn't.
caricature cartoon character of what the
of a
person
person,
is
yeah.
actually like.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't help that YouTube as a platform is supporting that, right?
Oh yeah.
Dream,
No,
that's kind of their
it's how you
bread
make
and butter
content,
now. Yeah,
baby.
that's how we make money.
So
um,
we make the dough.
but yeah, like that is the big thing, and that's why Dream SMP got so popular, is because YouTube was backing it. People were enjoying it, um, and eventually it got to a point where people were playing these personas that would never drop, right? So they were personas
Oh
that
yeah.
were just incredibly draining because there was money to be made, right?
I
You
think about the
drop
old YouTubers who would do that
oh
because
my
I,
god,
you
the
know, I
Jake
grew up
Pauls
during
of
the
the world,
YouTube age.
fucking yeah,
Cryotics.
Cryotics.
And like yeah, like shit like
Mm-hmm.
that, where it's just like what there's this like fake like celebrity status of like what are they like behind the mask? We never seen this creator because they're hiding their identity, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, it's ultimately not that interesting.
No, no, it's just some fucking fat guy in his goddamn mom's basement doing shit, all right?
I mean, I don't know
but
about that, but
okay,
yeah,
exactly. But like,
I don't know about that, but
it's not people it's over glorifying these things, and that's often what
people are
happened.
more interesting when they're genuine. And so,
Exactly.
when you put on the character mask, it's like that only lasts for a certain amount of time.
It does, and that's when we start getting the problems later on, because it's the thing about parasocial relationships, and this is the key of what this point was, is that
Right.
it is negative on both sides, right? When you feed
Yep.
into a parasocial relationship, like building up your fucking stupid persona online, you end up dragging yourself down into the darkness, right? And this is the thing we're going to talk about soon, while also bringing your fans into that. I think one of the biggest cases with Dream SMP was the case of Tommyinnit, right? He's probably one of the more popular streamers, YouTuber, whatever the fucking word you want.
Sure.
And it was this kid who was playing a persona, right? And that persona could never drop, right? If he were to drop the persona, oftentimes people would latch on to that. I think that's a big thing about parasocial relationships, is that people often latch on to whatever they can find beneath the guise, right? As you mentioned before, like, oh, I want to know who the fuck this guy is behind the mask, right? Um, People would latch on to that. I know Tommyinnit spoke very recently on a podcast that he has. He does podcasts now, apparently, about how during that time, this Dream SMP time, he would play his character, and then he would try and be authentic, and that authentic self was either shunned upon because people didn't want to see him that way, or
Mm.
people would try and use that to DOS him. Not DOS him, like invade his privacy, contact his family over Discord, not Discord, Facebook, find out where he lives. He would go out to a park and he would find 200 kids waiting there for him, right?
Wha-
Um, I know that's
that's
fucking scary as
scary.
shit, right? But the
You know
big
when you get
thing,
asked, when you get
yeah,
asked, it's like, how many children do you think you could take? Like as like a hypothetical question.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I could take on
You don't think you
200.
can take on 200 kids? I think if you gave me a metal bat and you sat me down in a
No
park.
weapons. No cheating.
Okay. Well, I'd have to John Wick it, man. I'd have to fucking
If you
like
gave
take
me
some.
a military tank, I think I could take
If you
200
gave me a
kids,
fucking
yeah.
assault rifle, I think I could take out 200 kids. You'd have to John Wick it, man. You'd have to take the fucking wood off the. You're sitting in a park, right? Hypothetically speaking, you're sitting in a park,
Hypothetically.
and all you have before you is you're like sitting on a bench, and in the bushes are 200 little kids crawling down. They're fucking foaming at the mouth. They see you, and they're rushing over, and you need to protect yourself, right? What do you do? What could you do in that situation? I think best case, run away. Best case, act like you're not the person. The thing is, this Tommyinnit guy, and although, I'm sure at the time, like he was a kid at the time, right? So, you're not gonna be understanding your next steps are going to be a bad one, right? If that makes sense. You don't have
He was a
the
kid, as in, like, he was, like,
he
19
was he
or
was
something
younger
like
than
that?
that, I think. I think it was like 16, 17.
Oh.
Around he was very young, right? With this giant
Yikes!
community. And that's the big
Yeah.
problem, is that because of that, he would feed into it in a way. He would, say he would go on his Twitter or TikTok or whatever, not TikTok, Twitter, and say like, "Oh, here I'm in Manchester Square," because he's British. Come find me, right? He would do
British.
things like that. And the adverse effect of that is that these relationships, these parasocial relationships, would deepen, would get thicker and thicker. You'd find 200 people, 200 kids coming up to you, right?
Interesting.
And he wasn't the only one doing that, right? A lot of those creators were in the same boot because the fame's there, right? The money's there. You get caught up in this whole, trend of, of being seen for the first time ever, right? Being acknowledged for the first time ever.
It's a
Um,
it's a as a theater kid, as a kid who did theater back in high
Mhm.
school, it is certainly a high being in the spotlight. It's yeah.
but
But, like, I never wanted those 100 people to, like, know about my life. As soon as the stage was over, it's like, listen, for me, if 100 people walked up to me and was like, "Hey, how you doing?" after the show, I
mhm,
wouldn't play a character. I would just like, "Hey, I'm pretty tired. I think I need a
mhm.
banana to eat a banana or something. 'Cause I'm out of energy.
But you see,
Can I get some water?"
that's the biggest thing. Like someone like you, some normal fucking guy, even if you've got a background in entertainment, you understand the distinction between taking off the mask and being your
The
authentic
stage
self, right?
and
Yeah.
yeah,
The stage and your home presence, whatever, right?
separation of
This
yeah.
separation of mask and person, right?
Yep.
But as a content creator, it's really difficult because your entire job is entertainment, right? And
Right.
oftentimes that you're making a fuck ton of money from it, right? Everyone in Dream SMP was making a fuck ton of money in it, right?
Yep.
That often you forget to take the mask off, right? What is the point of the mask if not to take it off, as the song goes? We research here at Late Night at the Barcade.
We
Um,
research.
we research.
Lots of study hours
Exactly.
spent.
We have a big team of individuals. But yeah, like these people would never take off the mask, and the adverse
Mhm.
effect of that is that would affect their personal lives, right? When you're not able to distinguish the stage from the world before you, you often find yourself being absorbed in that, right? And the adverse effect is that when you're building into these parasocial relationships for money, for clout, for fame, right, whatever it be, the adverse effect of that is that it starts not mutating, but molding into your own life, right? I know Tommyinnit as a person, and a lot of people who came out of Dream SMP came out very depressed, very, um, you know,
That's how
unaccomplished
it goes.
as it
Yeah.
goes, right? There are many who didn't, but there are many who came out of that as a very negative experience because by not taking off the mask, they found themselves unable to, see the real them, right? And they just became a person. Not a person. They became the persona, right? And that fed into these parasocial relationships more and more, right?
Where is the parasocial relationship with this situation as far as the Dream
Dream
SMP and
SMP
Tommy
stuff.
in it?
Yeah. So where these relationships were coming from were, oh, give me 1 second. I'm recording. I'm fucking recording. Oh,
Hasn't been recording this whole time. My God. Okay, well, the host left the show, so it's just the guests
Yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. Love it.
Um,
Huh?
finally, I can say the N word.
What are you saying?
Oh shit,
What are
he's
you
back.
talking
He's
about?
back.
What are you talking about? I'm keeping this
Nothing
in.
happened.
I
I
want
didn't.
the world to
Nothing
know
happened.
you're an evil fucking bastard who's about to say the N word.
I'm a great totally good person.
Yeah, you're like amazing. You're amazing and lovely. What you were saying before, you asked me the parasocial relationships. So yeah,
Where's
like
the parasocial relationship with Tommyinnit?
yeah, I mean the where this was formed was very much the child audience, right? Apparently Dream SMP had statistically had a very high young female audience, right?
Okay.
And what you found, what the streamers there found, is that often people were forming these kind of relationships, um, and, you know, fan theories and ideas about the content creators because it was, you know, a constant 24-hour cycle. People were role playing, people were playing characters, they were shipping, there were fan meetups, there was all kind of
Mm.
things, but it was all of this kind of marketing and communities that were forming with young children, young female children, who were being exposed to these creators that they could interact with. The biggest problem with Twitch, right, and what didn't help with this is that there was the barrier between content creator and consumer is much more thin, right, than it would
Right.
ordinarily be as just someone producing like a podcast or something like that. Um you know, and oftentimes these people would have answers responded to. There would be these people sending through money and like bits would come out and
I
people
never
would
thought about the
ask.
comment system. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
And that was the biggest thing. It was the comments section, and a lot of people played into that to a degree. You know, I don't think in a negative light, but it was more like, oh, I'm going to respond to comments. I'm going to respond to these shipping posts going on. I know there were a lot of episodes
Sure.
back in the day where there was a big community inside Dream SMP that was shipping. For those who don't know what shipping means, it's essentially you've got two personalities and you're trying to create a fictitious relationship between those two personalities for some reason, right? You know, and there was a lot of that going around in the early days of Dream SMP, in terms of these like I'm gonna ship Tommyinnit with this grown man or some shit like that, right? Or him and his best friend or whatever. And what often would happen is that these creators would play into that. They would highlight that stuff on their channel. They would talk about that stuff on their channel. Um, and out of fun, out of enjoyment, out of poking fun at it, right? But that would only make more people do it and would make more people feel like what they're saying and doing is being represented and encouraged, right? And so what they would eventually cultivate is a large community of young women who would find themselves constantly being this parasocial relationship constantly being pushed, encouraged, and accepted, right?
Mm.
People weren't there weren't outcries saying this is a bad thing. There weren't people talking about, and there may have been a couple of individuals. I know what was his name? Tubbo was an individual who was against that. Um but the people who were in charge, the more popular personalities there, went along with it, right? Because to a degree, what's the harm, right? You're making a lot of money.
They're playing characters. Yeah.
You're playing characters, and at the end of the day, you can drop the character, right? But many people didn't.
Right.
Many people continued it,
Right.
and then it created this really terrible cesspool of negativity. And when the creators started to break, so did the people who were creating these parasocial relationships. Because often, when you let it go too far, the creator and the content consumer, their personalities are one-sided, of course, but the personalities of the creators, whenever affected, would then affect the community in great magnitudes, right? And it
Yeah.
all came to be with Tommyinnit's meltdown, right? And I'm not the whole fucking late night of the Barcade is not to make fun of it. It's just an example of what at the antithesis of what this was, right? Eventually towards the end of the Dream SMP you know, server content creation bubble, Tommyinnit announced that he was stepping away from content creation. He felt that his community were getting very toxic, that he was often being sent death threats, that people were finding out where his house lived. His mother was being harassed over her own YouTube channel she was making. And he
Right.
found that a lot of the community were trying to kind of open themselves up to him when that is not what he wanted as a creator, right? Very
Right.
much someone understanding that, hey, I've gone a little too far. And he took a step back, understandably, right? What happened with that is that as soon as he took a step back, people started flaming him. His own community turned around and attacked him because they didn't
Yeah.
believe he deserved to take the time off. They believed they were being insulted by him saying, hey, this community is a little too much. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Fair fucking
They were
enough.
entitled little whiner babies.
Entitled
Yeah.
little whining bitches trying to put a little fella down.
I get it, because they're young females.
Right, right. But yeah, like the point of it was they were feeling personally attacked by the creator taking a step away because he didn't like his community anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so because it is so easy to actually contact a creator these days. I mean, over Twitter, you can, if you've got a big enough following, you can message them directly, right? He was being
Right, yeah.
messaged directly. People knew where he lived because he was doing all of these things. Come to Manchester, bro. I'm in fucking England. Come find me. He was doing all of
Right.
these things, built all of these things, and he wasn't the only one, but he had created this connection already with his fans that were now backfiring on him, right? His fans were finding out where he lived. They were stalking him. He was getting death threats over Twitter. People were trying to, find out where he lived, sending him death threats over Twitter. And it all came to be that he broke down. I know the guy talks about recently in his podcast about how much that period of time affected him mentally because he wasn't ready for it. He was young. I think he was 17 when all of this was happening, right? A young
Jeez.
kid just being destroyed by his own community who I think to a degree you don't know the extent of these relationships until they manifest to this degree, right? And he was being inflamed. And there were no support networks in this Dream SMP thing. I'm sure he had friends that helped him out, but because Dream SMP was built upon the parasocial relationships, there wasn't fans who were protecting him. There weren't people who were, and I'm sure there was a silent minority, right? But the major majority were attacking him. And he quit for a while. I know he came back in a different direction, but I think it took a while until he did. But what ended up happening is that this all imploded on itself. Fans were angry that he was gone. Fans were angry that there were death threats being sent. Fans were angry that he reacted negatively to death threats, right? Because they felt personally attacked. Then they felt personally hurt that the community was attacking them, right? It was a cesspool of hatred and hatred because everyone has a parasocial relationship that's different, right? Especially when you build it up. Everyone thinks they themselves have that relationship or they, a part of a community, have that relationship. So when people are attacking this creator, you then hate those people who are attacking the creator. They then hate you. You then hate the creator for putting you in here. And it's an infinite cycle that does nothing but fucking hurt people. And from the days that followed Dream SMP, there was just discourse between communities. People felt they had to protect Tommyinnit. People felt that they had to protect the people who were attacking Tommyinnit, right?
I just don't understand how you can stay mad for that long. That
Because
sounds exhausting.
you've got to think, right, that it is very immature people, who very mentally unwell people, who are creating relationships that they themselves feel they have independence to, and they're seeing other people who have parasocial relationships. There's a kind of bit of what is it called? Like, not cock blocking, but the thing where you're like, showboating. It's a bit of showboating, right? Where, you feel so connected to someone, you have to defend them. And you have to attack them for something they've done bad, and you have to defend those who are defending or attacking. And it's creating a constant loop of people that were just destroying whatever came in, right? And people were being brought into the fray, right? People were leaving Tommyinnit's fucking community, moving on to other communities, spreading that parasocial relationships to other degrees. People were also being attacked because they were close to Tommyinnit and weren't talking about Tommyinnit, if that makes sense. They weren't bringing up the
Oh,
situation.
no, yeah, I've heard of that kind of stuff before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kept spreading. Eventually it died out, right? But, you know, a lot of people were hurt in the aftermath of this thing. You know, parasocial
Sounds like it.
relationships are these individual kind of fictitious individual relationships to a degree, right? That often are so volatile when they're like a nest, right? When pushed and when fucking broken, people lash out, right? Because they're usually very immature. They're usually very, you know, young, or they're going through something and they have built that relationship. And often, a lot of people tend to be very normal, right? These relationships, parasocial relationships, come in so many different forms, right? You have the extreme ends, and then you have the ends that are a lot more, you wouldn't even think you have one, right? People build.
Well, so
Yeah.
I read. Sorry,
No, go ahead, man.
not. I
Talk
don't
over
remember if
me.
it
It's
was.
not my podcast. No, go ahead.
I was reading an article when as a part of this topic, and I don't have it pulled up, but it was interesting because it was talking about both the pros and cons of parasocial relationships.
Interesting.
Now, we're obviously talking about the negative aspects. That's what we've been talking about the whole time. That's the stuff we're putting emphasis on. But I thought it was interesting because it was like, well, there are some pros to it. And this person was this article. It was like a blog post, and the person was interviewing one doctor about it. So, grain of salt and everything like that.
Yeah. That's a lot of information. Yeah, just one guy
Right.
says.
I still thought it was a good point. I mean, come on, what are we doing right now?
We're
Two
better than
guys.
a doctor, okay? Does he have a doctorate in
yeah.
podcasting? I don't think so. Listen to us over
but
your
it was an
fucking local
interesting-
doctor. If I tell you to swim, you swim. Anyway, yeah.
I thought talking about pros was an interesting point, and the pros were pretty generic, but I mean, same thing as the cons. But the pros were like having a parasocial relationship. Like a pro is like you have a closer relationship to this thing you like. You feel more connected to something, right? Which is a positive. That's just normal being a fan of something, right? Another one of the pros was like this building into a hobby of yours, showing not just an interest in this thing, but also having an aspect of like maybe you really like the Minecraft part of it, and so it introduces you to Minecraft, and then Minecraft introduces you to other positive roleplay servers with your own friends that you can set up, right? So you can make your own little SMP, right? That's a good thing objectively, right? You're making something with your friends, you're finding a game that you're creating experiences for the rest of your life, right? And it was all because of this thing. And that's a pro, ultimately, right?
There's definitely a sense of community and inspiration that you can get out of it.
The con is doing that extra step of like, oh, it's because of the it's that extra step of like, if the dream SMP doesn't work anymore, then the SMP I made with my friends can't work anymore.
Interesting.
Like things like that, where the con is like it's taking that step too far. Like again, with the connection thing, it makes you feel connected to something. It makes you feel like a fan. So you can talk with like other people in the community who also enjoy this thing and make friends. The extra step to that is like, I have a connection. Like this guy sees me. Like Tommyinnit, he's English.
He gets me, man.
I mean, whatever character he's playing is, because we attach ourselves as characters. We see ourselves in pop idols and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
You know, we literally see ourselves in the stars. Like
Mm-hmm.
astrology is a fucking thing, right? Like whatever the fuck is going on there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But uh so putting yourself on that character and setting up that deep connection. Like yes, it probably started out normally deeply personal. Like I still have fond memories of when I played the Super Nintendo as a child, so I'll always like really
Yeah.
like the Super Nintendo, right? But I have a healthy enough relationship where I can go like hot take. I don't really like Nintendo as a company anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a fan of them because I
I
don't like
think
where they're
all
at
it
and what
takes,
they
right?
do, right?
All it takes is
But a toxic thing
one.
would be like, sorry,
Yeah.
just
No, no,
finishing
go
up my
ahead. Go ahead.
point.
You finish up your
The
conversation. I don't want to talk. It's fine. No, go
the
ahead.
toxic thing would
Yeah.
be going, oh, because I love the Super Nintendo as a child, Nintendo can do no wrong,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think,
That's my point.
yeah, it's very much, it's so easy to go from an enjoy, like a like or appreciation for something into a more obsessive and unhealthy thing when, I think pride takes a lot of inspiration with things. You feel that your enjoyment and appreciation towards something is something meaningful, right? Rather than a part of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
It's,
you're right. You're right on the money with pride. Oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah,
pride. You were. We'll talk about it in a second, but there was something you brought up that I was actually kind of something that happened to me recently. I think I already
interesting.
told you about it, but
You told me
we can
about it.
chat
That's
about
what
it.
I was trying to segue it into, was very much like parasocial relationships are very common. It's people, there's a, like many things, there is a fucking it's the spectrum of things, right? Like,
Mhm.
you can get to the point where you're fucking destroying Tommyinnit online, or you can be someone who is building up a positive relationship and being inspired by someone. All it takes is pride to swap that and change that,
Mm.
um we as human beings are innately very prideful people, right? Unless you're someone who, everyone's different, and everyone has one of the very seven sins, and then the fucking 16 other sins on top of that, or whatever the fuck, right? Pride is something that befalls a lot of people, especially in more modern times, right? Especially in times where people are
Again, it's
experiencing a lot of
healthy to have
ego
a
death.
little.
It definitely is, right? It's healthy to have a little, because it's what keeps you going. It's what builds up your morals. It's what keeps you,
Yeah.
up.
Stand by your ideals.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But oftentimes with that comes, a obsession and a sense of guarding what is not yours to guard, right? An intangible thing. Typically,
Your pride overtakes your integrity.
exactly, exactly. And that's how these things form. People can have parasocial relationships to a degree. It's very easy to form. You'll be sitting on Twitch one day, and this guy with thousands of people will pick up your message, and you'll feel this sense of, you know, pride for yourself and this sense of appreciation for the creator, right? It's
Feel called
when,
out.
yes, when you're getting called out, or when, a creator brings up your email over a podcast, stuff like that. There comes with it the
Beta.
adverse effect of, you get a little pride bonus, a boost, right? And then when you have all that little ego boost, that little pride boost, when someone's trying to tear that down, you become quite volatile, right? It's a very natural human thing. But it is being placed on a very unnatural, intangible thing that you shouldn't really have pride about, right? A relationship that doesn't exist, you don't need pride for that, right? But you get in the cycle where you're now attributing pride to something that shouldn't be attributed to, and that starts becoming a part of you, right? You have to continue believing this thing to be worth giving pride to, and the adverse effect of that is that it starts to become more parasocial, right? It starts to become a
Mhm.
part of you. It starts to become you're part of the community. You're part of this creator. Whatever they did, you have a greater appreciation for. You're finding yourself defending someone you've never defended before, right? Um, and it's so easy to get into. You know, I feel you could, I'm sure there's a statistic out there. We are very researched here, but it's
Super researched.
super
All the
researched.
studies.
I think everyone to a
We
degree
talked to one doctor and they
we talked
knew
to
all
one
the
doctor.
answers.
We talked over one doctor. We didn't really let him speak. He said some points and then we just started talking over him. We're very educated here. But like I feel to a degree parasocial relationships are everywhere, right? It's when it gets to that negative stage where your pride is taking over something that's immaterial, right? Something that's intangible, where it starts having a very negative feedback loop, right? And you start getting into these points where you're having arguments with people online. You're getting mad at your parents for saying an opinion, mad at your friends for saying an opinion. You know, you feel so
I have a
attached to
personal
someone.
anecdote for this if you
Yeah,
want to
go
hear it.
ahead. Go ahead.
So I have these guys. I don't pay for. I follow a lot of YouTubers. I've been following these guys for a few years now since college. Regular
Mm-hmm.
Let's Play channel, just a few dudes, and just regular Let's Players. I like they're funny, you know. To me, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy them, and so you know, I started paying for their Patreon to watch their like episodes early and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's kind of like a connection there, right? Right? Like unknowingly creates a connection because it's like, oh, I'm paying for their content now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, to me is fine by me. You know, you know, it happens when you watch Twitch streamers and stuff like that, and you give out bits, and you know, sometimes you can donate on YouTube. I think there's like a thing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyways, follow these guys, right? Following them for a few years now. I would say 4 years now, 5 years. Um and in one of the recent games they were playing, they were making fun of a subject topic that's brought up in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can get they were playing Celeste. They were playing the video game Celeste.
Okay.
And in Celeste, bit of a spoiler alert, there a subject comes up that has to do with anxiety and panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Shows up in the game. These guys started making fun of that as a subject. They turned it into a bit. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize how like my immediate reaction. I've been following these guys for a while. Some of the topics they bring up I like don't necessarily agree with, but like I'll just leave it alone because I like the rest of the things, or I'll think
Mm-hmm.
about that and stuff like that. Just being a fan. But this time I was like, why the fuck are they making fun of this thing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is like panic attacks are not funny. And so it was a personal reaction because I had a attack that was very memorable when I was younger. I've had one since. But I think about that all the time when that's a subject that gets brought up or shows up in media and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like deeply personal because that was like a, you know, panic attacks are like a horrific experience if
Of
you've ever
course.
had one.
Yeah. I've
Um,
heard.
they're very they just suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to get out of them except from breathing or if someone can kind of help you out of one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so they were talking about this deeply personal subject, so that was like another point of contention where it was like, oh, this is a personal experience of mine, they're making fun of it. And my immediately it was the first time ever I wanted to comment on one of their videos. Never commented in the 5 years that I've been watching them.
Interesting.
It's the first time I wanted to comment because I was like, this is like not funny,
Yeah.
right? Like that was immediate gut reaction. It was parasocial,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that was a parasocial reaction. It was nothing as a fan. It was immediately generated because of my own personal experience and stuff like that. And really, after a few seconds, the guys were like, "Listen, we get it. We understand anxiety. I've had panic." One of the guys was like, "I've had panic attacks before, and you know how real is that or whatever, right? But I think they're pretty genuine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so it was like they were making fun of it from a place of like, oh, this is something one of them got over and the other ones never really felt or something like that, or didn't think it was like that big of a buzz. They're both comedians, so they talk about all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And make fun of
You're
all
always
sorts
going
of
to find
things.
yourself talking about something that someone doesn't like.
Right.
Yeah, in a negative light. Yeah, yeah.
But that was a parasocial reaction.
Definitely.
Where
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I feel connected to these guys because of the money, because I'm a fan. I've been watching them for so long.
And
They
therefore
don't get a lot
personally
of
hurt.
commenters.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Personally hurt. I feel a need to mention this thing. I took a step back. I really thought about it. And I was like, my reaction to this is so strong because of me. Nothing they're doing, they're not being horrible, right? Like I took a second to think about it and I was like, that's kind of insensitive, but they're doing it for a bit. They're not trying to attack anybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, let it go, right?
Mhm.
That was a legit parasocial reaction, right? So it's not like you have this thing and you have it forever. It's not like a disease, but it's like something you definitely need to take the steps to be mentally aware of.
Mentally
Like
aware.
take a step back and
Yeah.
be like, how deeply connected am I to this thing, and like why does it actually so much matter in this
Yeah.
moment? And what's the
Yeah.
healthy reaction?
Exactly. I think people are very quick not to have a sit down and talk about it, right? Or think about it and go over things.
Sure.
People are very quick to be volatile without even realizing it, you know? I think it's very common to have something like this, to feel personally attacked by something. I think a lot of people just don't understand it. It's why why I do this show, is to kind of highlight this behavior and, give
Yeah.
examples of things. And if you're someone who does experience that, to understand that, take a step back and realize, right? I think very good examples of that, like personal being attacked. We mentioned it with Tommyinnit, but I don't know if you remember the guy called Idubbbz, right? He was very influential back in the
That
day.
sounds super familiar.
Just for a bit of context, a very popular commentary YouTuber back in the day who created his brand essentially saying very offensive things and having very meaningful topics formed out of offensive ways of saying it, right? That whole
Yikes.
trend of being very satire and saying the N-word, all of that horrible stuff, right? This was
nothing that
years-
anybody on this podcast would do.
No, we haven't had to cut you out saying the N-word twice, at all. Never happened here. Who would do that shit? Who would try and cancel me on my fucking YouTube channel, huh? I wonder. Anyway, this guy, he was from a period of time where that was a more natural thing, right? Where the internet, for many, they won't understand that the internet was like that back in the day. It was a lot more negative and toxic. It's changed a lot as more people have gotten into it, but that was the time of frame, and the whole point of it was to do very over-the-top content to exhibit negative reactions, right? What created that? Because of that, there were the adverse effects of creators who enjoyed Idubbbz, who would feel personally attacked because of the things he was saying, and people who would feel personally attacked because others are saying their community is shit because they're saying the N-word, and they're saying the F-word the N-word and the F-word at the same time. And that's like a common trend in that community,
Yeah,
right?
slime and muck collect slime and muck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it becomes volatile, right? And that was the community that Idubbbz was forming, right? Now I think it's a lot more indirect, and he went on a podcast very recently within the last 2 years in the Anthony Padilla show. Anthony Padilla from Smosh, right? Very big guy back in the day. He had podcasts, and he typically gets a lot of people on. And Idubbbz on the podcast discussed, and this is where the big parasocial relationship came, discussed how negative his community was, and how back in the day he would do fan meetups and people would be saying the N-word and the F-word in front of him, right? because that was the community he was fostering. He didn't realize it at the time that by playing this character of his and having commentary that was innately negative and didn't really have positive lights to it, right? That the community he had fostered were very young kids who believed him as this kind of social pariah, right? People in the commentary community who already had, you know, big communities saw Idubbbz as a content pariah, right? So when Idubbbz on a podcast many years later, while this community have grown to love this guy, right? This is 5 years, maybe 6 years after his big debut and all this parasocial things, they still have that relationship. They've been with him for 6 years. And so on this podcast, he says, hey, this community is disgusting. And I'm not a fan of my community. I want to move on and I want to foster a better community or kind of turn what is already here into
That's
a better
a baller.
thing. Yeah.
Such anytime, yeah. Like even with the Innit stuff, when he was like, "I want to take a break and not do this anymore." Like both of these guys, like kind of props to them taking a step back and being like, "This sucks."
This sucks. Yeah. My community sucks. Yeah.
Fun fact, they both did.
Yeah. But the adverse effect of that, from a guy saying his personal point of his community that were terrible to him, the community that had been there for 6 years, who had grown up, right, felt personally attacked. A lot of people felt that they were different now and that they didn't deserve the hatred from their content creator. People felt that he was hypocritical for changing, for evolving as a content creator, as this was his past, you know? People held on to this personal idea of who Idubbbz was in the past and the things that he said, and a lot of people hadn't changed since, right? The amount of people who flamed Idubbbz because of his personal opinion on his community and how they believed he was hypocritical, because a lot of people grew up with him. A lot of content creators grew up with his content or were influenced by his content, right? He was a very influential guy in the commentary community. So we're talking millions and millions of people who felt personally attacked. And so they attacked him, you know? They labeled him a hypocrite. They were finding out his girlfriend had an OnlyFans and calling him a cuck, you know? People were subscribing to his OnlyFans in droves because they wanted to jack off to his girlfriend, you know? It was disgusting. And there was nothing he could do because the fans, there were the negative side of the fans who felt personally attacked and wanted to get to the guy's throat. And then there were just the fans who felt like they were not being appreciated by their content creator. Because people had this fucking parasocial relationship and they didn't realize they were the problem.
Gut reaction. I mean, everything we're talking about now is a wild gut reaction.
Exactly.
But that's wild to go, I'm going to get back at this guy by masturbating to his girlfriend.
To his wife. Yeah. Oh my god.
Some crazy shit.
But the problem is, like, there were big content creators who also felt personally attacked, right? Because they saw this guy as an influence on their content.
Yeah, anyone who partnered with him, sure.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, a lot of people who partnered with him agreed with the guy, but it was mainly those who were influenced by him and those who, even people who collaborated with him, called him a hypocrite, you know? For not enjoying his content, although someone can change after 6 years, you know?
Who knew humans change?
Who
Crazy
knew?
Concept.
Maybe
It's
this
only
guy
been
doesn't
around
want to
for
say the N-word anymore, you know? Maybe he has a wife and
million
wants to start a
years.
family, you know? And wants to tidy up his image before he has kids, right? Which is what he was saying. He wanted to tidy up his image so that his kids...
Are you the N-word guy?
Are you the guy who keeps calling this fucking lady an N-word and she's fat and an N-word over and over again? Oh god, you know, hate a man for trying to change, you know? But it was in this involvement and him trying to be open to his community about how negative it was, where people felt personally attacked. Content creators felt like their influencer who had influenced their creation was turning against their community. They felt that their community was dying. And to a degree, the commentary community was shifting, right? People were leaving in droves. because a lot of people saw this whole community of commentators as incredibly narcissistic parasocial degenerates, right?
Right.
And people stopped coming in. I mean, even nowadays, right? Even this podcast suffers heavily from this big period of time where commentary YouTubers were being shunned upon, right? You know, it had a heavy impact on YouTube and its presence, right? With commentary.
Okay.
Because people
Yeah.
felt personally attacked, and
Yep.
those who were holding the opinion that Idubbbz was being a fucking idiot were getting more and more views, so they continue to make more episodes, right? More things. And it left
God,
Idubbbz
the
the
vulture system, the
yeah.
vulture consumer system of
Mm-hmm.
YouTubers and shit like that, and Twitch streamers and all the big communities where it's like, oh, this one thing got big and is super controversial. Let me fucking take a scrap from this.
Yeah.
Jesus
People were coming out of
Christ.
the woodworks to talk about how hypocritical Idubbbz was without even knowing the context of that he can change, right? There were people using old clips of him, friends who had to kind of disavow his behavior because, you know, they wanted to keep their platform up, and there were people who shared similar communities who were attacking them for not saying anything, right?
Yikes.
It was a shit show. I think even now Idubbbz does quite well, but he does find himself in a rap of people who used to be very connected to him coming at his throat for trying to be better, by trying to take a moral high road and trying to, you know, use his platform for good because he came from such a negative light, right? People really
Right.
couldn't forgive a man for doing that, and a lot of people didn't respect him for trying to change when they believed he didn't have a reason to change, you know? Um, you know, a lot of people still cling to the idea that 2011 was negative. Who cares? You know, we're all different now, you know? There's no point feeling shame of something, and that's just kind of wrong. Because he was saying the N-word to people. He was being horrible. He made people fucking depressed. God forbid he doesn't like it, right?
I'm sure we're not, yeah, you know, there's people do things that are both good and bad, same thing as like creators, right? Whether
Exactly.
intentionally or not. But I assume someone who creates a commentary culture and his entire persona is being a degenerate, as you phrased it, which was a good word.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
assume that he never really talked about anything positive. Is probably just ripping people to shit. So it's like, sure, you know, there's two sides to the coin. So it's like we're not trying to martyr the guy, but it's definitely like it's good that he realized at some point that it was like, oh, this is bad
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is a bad thing that I'm doing. Let me stop being evil? Question mark. Which I'll commend him for, but yeah, like just being toxic all the time to get views is
Not a way.
not it.
Very easy to get to that degree. I mean, I think some of the early episodes of Late Night at the Barcade were probably more negative than they should have been, right?
Episode one.
Huh?
Episode one,
Episode one,
dude.
yeah, episode one was pretty iffy. I do keep it up because you know, I'm not like I if there is any shame to be made in the future, I don't want like that's what I've already sent that out to the world to see, right? So, you know, that's my burden to bear. That's my cross to bear.
Yeah.
Just have to improve in the future, right? But yeah, like these relationships people form
Oh my
you know.
God, are you trying to change, Jhon? Are you trying to change
What?
your
Oh my
toxic
god.
setup?
Dude, I'm trying to say something a
No.
little bit more important and maybe, you know, research my topics more.
You're
What do you
making me so
mean?
mad. I'm gonna say the N-word.
Please no. Oh god. I mean, look, there's probably people to a degree, even though this is a newer show, that have like tuned off as the show has changed from saying the R word and fucking hating on people for no reason with nothing being
Your
said.
episode 1 opens up with a pedophile joke. Let's just
Does it? Oh my god, that's
Yes.
horrible. Oh lord. Well, you see, I hear that a lot from friends because like friends will consume my content and will like they get more fresh perspectives of it. I've already done those fucking 4 months ago, right? Well, not 4 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, we changed.
It's very light.
Different.
It's
Yeah.
nothing. If this is your first episode to Late Night at the Barcade, it's very light. But like, I listened to it and I was like, I'm gonna skip ahead.
Yeah, I heard from some individuals. It only starts getting good towards maybe episode 5, maybe 6, coming up to 7.
Sure.
You know, if you're tuning in now, all of Late Night at the Barcade's great. Enjoy
Now
all
you're
of
here
it.
for the best episode.
This is the best episode so far, where I keep talking over our guest. We're really positive here. Here's what we'll do. We're an hour in, and we'll probably do another 20 more minutes, just for back roll footage. And we've got, I think, one more topic point about rock stars that we're going to talk about, which I think is very important to talk about. I know Pseudo here had some topic points around that. It's going to be very important. But for a little breaker, we have 2 little breakers that we do. We typically end with a hypothetical, so we'll do that towards the end.
Okay.
But we've got fan mail, baby.
We do.
Before we get into this, if you guys are out there who want to tune in, want to say some things, you think us saying bad things about Idubbbz and Tommyinnit and saying that he should kill 200 kids with a metal baseball bat is bad, send a message over at latenightbarcade@gmail.com. Send hate mail, send things, send topic points you want discussed. This guy in question, Peter,
send us death threats.
Send us death threats so that I can give this to people. We're gonna hopefully have Pseudo on a little bit more as well because his schedule works a lot more with me. And you know, I can turn the
fun so
he's
far.
having fun, you know, it's great. And you know, if you've got any messages and you want a certain person to respond to it, just put like, hey, I want Pseudo to talk about this, or this is for Pseudo, X, Y, and Z. This is for
first email is don't bring him back.
I really hated when Pseudo was on. Yeah.
First message.
Jhon, you should not have guests on your fucking podcast. You talk over them, you fat fuck. Yeah. If you want to send that up through, that is all right. I have had a bunch of emails already. Some of these aren't going to be coming up on the show, but I do respond to every single email that comes through. And if you want to send a comment down below, I will respond to every comment. Those are really a good way of finding a question or saying something or having something appear on the podcast. If you would like that, send a comment or send an email through latenightbarcade@gmail.com. We have a message that goes under, this is the subject, thoughts ? This is from Peter, and he calls himself Peter Partyman Michael is his name. He has quoted himself as the party man. So this guy's fucking cool as shit, right? He's a fucking badass, okay?
Quick plug before you get into the letter.
100%.
I'm super lame. I came up with a motto when I was younger because I was also a child. And my motto was have fun, party hard, don't die. That was my motto. I still say it sometimes. But yeah, the party man.
And the party man Peter is here to give us a fucking thing under the question thoughts.
I love that.
He says, hey Jhon, like the drinking video, wanted to ask about your worst drinking story. Talk about it on the podcast sometime. Thank you.
Ooh.
And then he's included you know my fucking drinking story, the big one.
Dude.
We'll see. We'll say our stories soon.
We'll go into it. We'll go into
100%. And then he's added here a fact for some reason.
Okay.
Party man Peter knows how to party dude. And why am I laughing at him? He's the coolest fucking guy. He's the life of the party, dude. Life of the party, Peter.
Life of the party. Party man.
He's giving me a little fact. He
Wait,
says
what's
facts
his
for you.
what's his fact?
What's his fact?
What's his
All right, here's
yeah.
his fact. And I don't know how this has anything to do with anything. The squid's brain is torus-shaped, ring-shaped in brackets, with its esophagus running through it. If it eats anything too large, it can suffer brain damage. What do you think about that?
I think it's more efficient than how our brains work because octopi seem to be, or squid seem to be pretty good. They don't have to deal with the parasocial relationships.
They
I
don't.
can tell you
don't.
that.
Are you saying we need more people to be docile and easily manipulative?
I think floating alone in the ocean and eating food all the time or getting eaten is I don't know, there's something peaceful about that and also unfathomably horrifying.
Well, Peter here seems to think this is a very interesting fact. So thanks, Peter.
I liked it.
Yeah. Pseudo liked it. I enjoy the idea of it. It hasn't really made me go, that's interesting.
I appreciate the concept.
I appreciate the idea. Party man. You know,
he
sure.
He says standing in a modern art museum looking at some fucked up shit that's
I like when he fucking ripped apart his brain cells and fucking wrote fucking squid have ringed brain in blood. That's what I enjoyed.
No,
thanks, Peter.
No, it's torus shaped.
Oh, torus shaped. My apologies. Yeah, the fucking
Get
Pokemon,
it right. We're
researchers.
We study on this shit.
You know, I should have like fucking fact checked this. Is this even a real fucking fact?
I don't know.
He just whipped this out of his ass. You must be a fucking beautiful member of the party, dude. You're the life of the party.
Not, I like the imagination.
Yeah. I mean, he could just be talking absolute shit. Anyway, to answer your question, Peter, I appreciate you sending through a email to the podcast. Again, his real name's not Peter Michaels. I'm just changing it. It starts with a P. It's party something. Life of the party something. To answer your question, worst drinking story. You want to go first, Pseudo? What's your worst drinking story?
Worst drinking story.
And make it quick. We don't have long.
Okay. Mine is pretty simple. It wasn't me drinking, but I am big into D&D. It's a whole thing. It's how me and Jhon met.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
Cut it, Lily. Cut it, Lily.
No,
they can't know that he's a huge fucking nerd.
What? Yeah.
I
tuned out of this podcast when I realized Jhon fucking plays D&D.
I can't handle that. The thing was, I was playing with some people. I was at a place for a job. It was like a short little school that I needed to go to for work, and we were there for, I mean, it was a long school, short as in it was like less than a year, but there were other people at the school as well for work, and so I was like, hey, let's like form a little D&D group so we can like have something to look forward to throughout the week, and you know, play some games for a couple of weeks until we all graduate and are done and can go back to work. And so I did my whole spiel, session 0, set up all my rules with people. Number 1 rule was don't bring your problems to the table. Still my number 1 rule, right? We'll talk about it, but like, don't bring your issues to the table. First game, there's a person who comes who's drunk. I don't notice it because I'm the DM. I'm juggling so many like NPCs, telling the story, getting the characters involved, all that stuff.
Of course.
This person is like super loose. They're uber touchy, like straight up touching people who they're not close to.
Interesting.
Not friends, but they're a touchy drunk. So it's like hugging, touching. Eventually, like, a little over halfway through the session, I start to notice it, and I'm like, this is making the other people uncomfortable. They're like glancing at each other, like super weird. Um, End the game
It's just
early.
this fucking fat
I take
loser
this.
hugging everyone,
I take
fucking
this
drooling
person
all
to.
over us. Yeah.
I take the person aside. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I had like I got super fucking wrecked before this because
Mhm.
um my my sister won't let me talk to my niece anymore because she thinks I'm a bad
Oh
influence and stuff
no!
like that. And
Oh
she got wrecked because she was
no!
sad. So she was also like a sad drunk, and it completely ruined the session. Completely, and it made me feel like shit because I didn't notice it until the end. And I was like, some of these people are new players; they never played the game
This is the
before,
first
so
ever
this is their
experience.
first experience.
Oh my
And
god!
I'm like,
Yeah.
you fucked me. You fucked me so hard by
You know what
doing
you should have
this.
done? You should have just fucking lunged over the table and just strangled her, knocked
I
her
was
out.
I was like, I can't. You know what I said? You
Mhm.
know what? It was like it was like a movie moment. You know what I said? I'm like, okay, so you broke my first rule
Mhm.
out
Mhm.
of all the rules that I had when before we played. So yeah, don't I'm gonna fucking talk to you before we play next. I'll give you. I'm I'm a good guy. I gave him a second chance, but I was definitely like, if
Uh-huh.
this ever comes up again, I'm gonna wring your fucking neck.
Mhm. Come to my fucking table drunk. Yeah. Oh
I'm
no,
gonna
my
stab you with my pen. I'm
oh,
gonna
I can't see
fucking
my niece
shove my
anymore.
colorful
Oh
dice down
fuck.
your throat.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Act like one of those fucking mixer shakers, dude. Chuck it in there. Fucking shake her up
So
and down. See what happens.
it's not anything insane, but it was definitely like creepy and it was uncomfortable and it totally
Of
ruined the
course.
mood.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Sucked
mean,
so bad.
mine is a lot longer of a story. So maybe I'll talk about it another day. So yeah, sorry, Peter, you're gonna get Pseudo's story instead. All right, I'll talk about mine in a different thing.
The
Because
La Lamer story.
yeah, mine's story is not lame.
I was talking about mine
Oh no, that
because
was
it's
a
not even
fun
about
story.
me.
That was a fun story. We're gonna do a little bit of a wrap up, right? We got a hypothetical to do at the end of this. We're getting up to time. So, as a bit of a wrap up, we have had our discussion about fucking. I was gonna say pseudo relationships. Parasocial relationships is the word. Having a relationship with Pseudo wants me to kill myself, is what it is.
Hell yeah.
Damn right.
That's the vibe I go for over here.
Unbeknownst to me, before I was friends with him, 4 of his friends committed suicide on the same day.
Yep.
Yeah. Moral of the story, right? If you are someone out there, I hope you've realized how goddamn easy it is to have a parasocial relationship. How, oftentimes YouTube and content creation in general profits off parasocial relationships. In fact, it encourages it, right? The whole of Dream SMP encouraged it. But if
Leave
you're
a
someone
comment
out
down
there,
below.
leave a comment down below and I'll respond so that we have parasocial relationships together, right? So I can use you for
Yes.
content. But look, if you're someone out there who feels that, you're finding yourself becoming very quickly attached to something, you're seeing a person or a environment as something that's becoming a big part of your life, take a step back and assess to what degree, There's nothing wrong about making something your personality when it is for the right reasons, But take a step back and understand before it gets bad. And if you're a content creator out there, be a little bit more aware of stuff, Don't say on Twitter, I'm in Manchester right now, come see me, and then be pissed off that 200 fucking kids are at your door. Parasocial relationships are a two-way street that is blocked on one end, right? And it takes both sides understanding that this parasocial relationship shouldn't be formed for there to be positivity. Because what ends up happening is a lot of people get hurt. You end up being hurt. They end up being hurt. And it creates a cycle that you can often never leave, right? And if you're someone out there who thinks they don't have a relationship, parasocial relationship, or fears that they have a parasocial relationship, take a step back and assess. If you've never done that before, start doing it now, right? Because the difference between you and the difference between someone who's going out of their way to burn down Idubbbz for saying he doesn't like his fucking community is that you're taking a step back and understanding. Okay, so we just had to cut out a fuck ton of shit. I'm gonna do a quick hypothetical, okay? It's gonna be a improv hypothetical. I'm gonna set it up, right? You're a fan of this big creator, right? You've been a fan for a long time. You have been there since they started, when they had about 100 people, right? And now they've grown quite big. You know, you've never really seen yourself, you know, getting too close, but you're part of their Discord. You've spoken to them from time to time, and, you know, a part of you feels connected with this guy. You show up to as many streams as you can. Often you're not there all the time, and sometimes you feel really bad that you're not there, right? You're not there to support him, and a couple of your friends now are fans of this creator, and you kind of built whatever online presence you had around being a fan, right? And you've grown a little older with this person. You know, you've been around for about 4 years now. You've started your career in, let's say, in an office. You're doing paperwork for a big corporate company in Manchester, right? And one day, you're on your break and you see a message on Twitter from your content creator of question. And he's saying, hey, I'm in Manchester right now. And you realize the background is your own office. He's outside the park across from you that you often, you know, stare out of boredom. Apparently your favorite creator's there. So you think for a second, it's your lunch break. What would be the harm in going there? Maybe you can meet your creator. You highly doubt there's going to be many people, right? And so you take a walk. You go down to the park, and feel free to take over this hypothetical at any time, Pseudo. You know, you go to the park and you see him. But it isn't just you. It's 200 individuals, and part of you feels jealous. Part of you feels like the opportunity here is being wasted, you know?
This is your chance to meet them, you and you alone. And it feels constricting. This isn't a moment of curiosity for you and all the other 200 people here, where it's like, I want to learn about these people's feelings towards this creator. What have their experiences been? Has anybody grown up like I did? Those questions don't come to you. The questions are more along the lines of like, I've been with this person the longest. I feel like I should meet them first. So you find ways to skip the line. You don't talk with anybody, except your entire focus is on getting to the front, right? There's not even a line, it's just a wall. They're not people, it's just obstacles. And you get to this person and you get to release all these emotions onto them that you've been holding on, bringing up topics of and situations, memories you remember of when you watched them, and you don't realize that this person has been playing a character. You think that this person's persona and you never took a step back to think about it. It's just that, oh, this person is me. What they do is me. And they're so like me. And in that moment, you're talking about topics and they look at you funny because in reality, likely they don't know what the fuck you're talking about because that was just a bit to them. But
And a
it
part of
mattered
you,
so much to you.
it matters so much to you. And so a part of you dies inside. You know, for the first time ever, you have felt a bit of anger, a bit of shame, a bit of envy for the person you have dedicated a portion of your personality to doesn't seem to reciprocate. You know,
Nope.
he's a little uncomfortable. He's backing
Doesn't like
away
you.
now. He doesn't really like you. You know, other people are now shouting around you, and you're in this moment now where you're overwhelmed. People are shouting you haven't finished your sentence, your word, what you wanted to say, and it fills you with anger. People are now pushing past you. People are getting handsy. He's running away now, and you're chasing after him. You're one of the few people chasing down. You have to finish your point. If you don't, well, what is your creator going to feel? What are you going to do when you go back home now that your creator feels negative? You have to say sorry. You have to apologize. You have to make him understand. And so you scare him away. You're running down the park square now. He's calling his friends. They're in a car and they're trying to get away from you. And so you get in your car. Everyone is in their car park now, trying to file out, following this creator. This genuinely happened, by the way. Following this creator through Manchester Square.
It sounds like it. This sounds
happened.
too real.
It is so goddamn real. It's so goddamn creepy. And you're following him through Manchester Square. You're following the car, and they stop in a club somewhere. You and 5 other people get out of their car. You're following them. You bash into the club area. You're pushing past people, and there you find him with all of his friends, and you have nothing but vitriol. You feel so much anger because he ran away from you. You haven't been able to say your piece, and these other people are now saying things that you don't agree with, and it fills you with more anger. A fist is flown your direction. You retaliate. You're now on the ground attacking the person you held so much respect for because they don't understand. They're scared of you. You're not like these other people around you. You're better. You have to have a word said, and now the anger is being pressed against the creators. People are
They're
stopping
not like
you.
what you wanted. They're not like on the pedestal you made them for, and so your reaction is to destroy that. If you can't have them as you want them, then they shouldn't be anything. And there's a small part of you that realizes that it's all you. That is all you. That there's something a part of you that, but you don't want to admit it. And so you make it somebody else's fault. It gets ugly.
It does. And, you know, you're kicked out of the club, and you're making your way back to work. You've missed work now. You've had multiple calls from your boss, and it's winding down to the end of the night now. And you find yourself home, and you tune into the guy's stream, and he's talking about you. He's talking about these horrible events, and you just crumble. And then it hits you. He's talking about you. You have received some sort of acceptance, some sort of approval in a way. Although the person is deeply affected by you, that's not what really matters. It's kind of funny in hindsight. The empathy's kind of gone, right? You did a lot of bad, and in your mind, they did a lot of bad. And so the relationship continues. And you wind the night down watching his stream, not really giving a care that this creator of yours is in so much distress because of your actions. And you continue on as if nothing ever happened. And that has been Late Night at the Barcade. Thank you all for watching. I thank you, Pseudo, for joining me on tonight's episode. Technically tonight, we're recording this at a different time. I hope my audio back behind me isn't annoying and I have to cut things out. It would be wonderful if my audio is perfect. Anyway, if you'd like to get in touch, as I mentioned before, get in touch at latenightbarcade@gmail.com. Like, comment, and subscribe. YouTube has been telling me not to do that. Because apparently we should be getting more views. Whatever that means. And Spotify has been begging me to tell you to comment on the Spotify thing. If you're just someone, give a comment, give a follow. They say apparently I need 175 followers at this point, or they're going to cut me off, they said. So, you know, if you want this thing to continue, give it a follow. Yeah, right? Apparently I'm using too much bandwidth. Whatever that means. Send through some emails. I respond to every single one. Every comment I respond to. If you want to say some hate mail in the comment section, go ahead. Thank you to Peter, the Party Peter, for coming in here. I hope to see
Party guy
Peter. Thank you, Lily, for showing up for editing.
Hell yeah.
This has been Late Night at the Barcade. Thank you all for watching. As I always say, be bold, be brave, stay beautiful, people. Good night.
Have fun, party hard, don't die.